Hi, my name's Elle, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing my July TBR. I think I have I have 6 books, but I only have 5 physical books. And then I have 1 book that I'm finishing up. So basically I just wanted to explain that I typically, for a month, I will do 1 contemporary, 2 nonfiction, 1 classic, and 2 fantasy. Is that right? Yes. Typically, so usually every month I do 2 classics. No, sorry. Typically for the month I do uh, 3 classics. So usually I just want to explain beforehand that typically for a month I do, what do? I do 2 nonfiction, 1 classic, 2 or 3 fantasies, fantasy slash sci-fi. I don't really read that much sci-fi now, but fantasy slash sci-fi I'll say. And then I do 1 contemporary. So that's basically the formula that I do. I just do it that way because I am kind of a mood reader, and so sometimes I'm in the mood for different things, and if I have like all fantasy books, it also can get confusing if I'm reading like 4 fantasy books at once, then I'm going back and forth, because then I start to get the worlds confused. So that's just the way that I do it. Anyhow, let's get right into it. So the first book I'll be picking up, well, not really the first book, because like I said, I'm kind of a mood reader, so I switch in between. I'll probably go in between all these books until I finish them, unless I really like one of these books, which I think this might be one of them. So a book that I really like that I will be able to put down. This is The Black Prism by Britt Meeks. This book series seems really popular, and people really seem to like it. And so I thought I would give it a shot. I've heard good reviews and I've heard bad reviews about it. I don't know exactly what the book is about, but I get the gist that it's basically about magic and the way they use magic. I think they use like the prisms, like they use like color prisms, I think, is when they transfer it to magic somehow. I honestly don't know. But I heard it was good. I heard some people didn't like it because it has some not weird. I heard some people say it has like immature jokes and it's a little misogynistic. And like, so I don't know. It'll be interesting to read. I think that I will probably enjoy it. I really love fantasy and I like different fantasy worlds. So yeah, I think I'll enjoy this one. The next book I'll be reading is the classic, and it's going to be Ernest Hemingway, For Whom the Bell Tolls. I believe this is about. Let me just read the back real quick. I'm pretty sure this is about. It's not about Ernest Hemingway, but it's based on his life. And it's about when he was living in Europe as a war correspondent. And I think that I will find this one very interesting, because I read a contemporary book called The Paris Wife. I can't remember who it's by. But basically it was about Ernest Hemingway's first wife, and kind of went through her life. People had written accounts of what she went through, and they wrote a book about what they imagined her life was like during her marriage to Ernest Hemingway. And I really liked that book. That book made me cry. So even though this is obviously a different writer, and like this is Ernest Hemingway, and he's not writing about himself, like it's not an autobiography, it is based off his life. So I think that it'll still give me some like insight into the other perspective of that. And so yeah, that's why I'm picking this one up, even though previously when I read Ernest Hemingway's books, I have to say, not my favorite classic writer. But I am always ready to give him another shot, and I really like his short stories, because me and my husband, we have like a big book of Ernest Hemingway short stories, and of Scott Fitzgerald and someone else. And what we do is we sit down and like we'll go on the balcony and we'll just like pick a short story and read the short stories to each other. So I do think that. So I like his short stories, so maybe I just need to read more of his novels. I've only read 2. Which 2 did I read? I can't remember the names of the ones that I read. But I've only read 2, so maybe I'll like it. I think that his novels, the reason I like his short stories more than his novels is because the way he writes can kind of drag, because it's a lot of times it's just like actual like and I know people look for this in books, but it's like actual like everyday like back and forth, just like people talking like everyday scene after everyday scene, which is fine if you're reading a short story and it's like you see the snippet into like someone having dinner at a cafe and they're having a conversation and the conversation is very important. But like if you're reading a book and the whole book is basically just like back and forth dialogue and like someone doing everyday things, sometimes it can get a bit boring, at least for me. But I'm going to give this one a shot because, like I said, I really like The Paris Wife, and I think this is going to kind of mirror The Paris Wife in a way. Supposedly, that's what I've heard. So yeah, I'm going to give this one a shot. My next book that I'm going to be reading is one of the nonfictions, and it's going to be Astrophysics for People in a Hurry by Neil deGrasse Tyson. A lot of people have said very good things about this book, and it is very short, only 200 pages. I don't know much about astrophysics, but I have watched some of Neil deGrasse Tyson, like he'll do debates and, or really conversations. He's not like an arguer, from what I've seen at least, maybe he is. But anyhow, I have seen, I don't know much about astrophysics, but I've seen some of those debates, and so I think that I'll have like I find those debates really interesting because I find it very interesting. I find space very interesting. I just have a hard time understanding it. So I think reading kind of like this like dumbed down version of astrophysics will be easier for me and easier to digest, and will maybe push me into a world of reading sciencey nonfiction books, because usually I don't do that. Usually all my nonfiction books are either history books or biographies. So we will see how I like it. The next book I'm going to be reading is Leonardo Da Vinci by Walter Isaacson. And I picked this up because for a couple of reasons. First of all, I read one of his other books. It was a biography on Benjamin Franklin, and I really liked that one. And then it just so happened I was at a party with my husband, and one of his colleagues recommended this book to me because I am an art history major, and so he recommended this book and said, "Oh, you like art history? I read this really amazing biography recently," and then I looked it up and I found out that it is by the same author that wrote the Benjamin Franklin book, so I thought that was interesting. And I can't remember the third reason that I was going to say, so let's go with those two reasons. This book is thick, and it's about Leonardo da Vinci's life. And even though it's pretty thick, there are a lot of different pictures in it. So I think that'll make it more easy to digest. And also the last, like, 10th of the book is all just, like, extra notes that don't have anything to do with the book. It's like notes and also that's works cited. So yeah, I think I'll find this very interesting. The next book I'll be reading is The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. I read, when I was in high school, I read The Night Circus, and I really enjoyed it. I believe this book is about a boy who goes to a library and he starts reading a book. He starts reading a book and then he realizes the book parallels his life or something like that. I don't know exactly what it's about because I don't read too much into what the book's going to be about. I think that's just the gist of it from what I've gathered from other people talking about it, and I read what it was about when I picked it up in the store. So I just think that's going to be very interesting because I loved The Night Circus because I don't read a lot of magical realism. Usually it's either like fantasy or nonfiction, or I'll read like a classic. So like Pride and Prejudice takes place in the past. I don't read a lot of magical realism. I think the only magical realism book I've ever read is The Night Circus. So I think that it'll be interesting to kind of step back into this world. Yeah, I'm excited to read that. That's actually not true. That's not the only magical realism book I've read, now that I think about it, but it's fine. Yeah, so I think I'll enjoy this book a lot. My next couple of books, I think there's two of them. One, I want to read A Court of Thorns and Roses, I think. A Court of Thorns and Roses. I bought it a while ago, but I haven't actually read it. because I usually don't really like young adult fantasy. I just bought it because I was going on a booktube binge and a lot of people were liking it. And then there were also people that didn't like it, and I found some of their reviews really funny. And so I thought, oh, well, I'll read it, and either I'll like it, like these people like it, or I won't like it, but I'll be able to get some enjoyment out of it because of the commentary that other people have. So then I'll find the videos even funnier, and I'll remember the videos when I'm reading the book. So it's kind of the best of two worlds, but I still never got around to reading it because I read like the first couple chapters and I just stopped. So hopefully I can pick that up again this month and finish reading that. And then right now I'm like probably halfway done with Oathbringer, which is the third book of the Way of Kings. The Way of Kings, I think it's the Way of Kings series. The third book of the Way of Kings series, and I'm about halfway done with it. And I'm about halfway done with that. And there's only a few days left in the month, so I probably won't be able to finish it. I'm reading other books at the same time. Because I'm reading other books at the same time, and also I have other stuff to do before July comes around. So I'll read that one. So I finished reading that one. So perhaps in my July wrap up, I'll have all those books, plus I'll say what I think of Oathbringer and what I think of Court of Thorns and Roses. Anything else? I think that's all I'm going to be reading this month. The reason I have so many books this month, well, so many thick books. I usually read a lot of books, but I usually don't read like have so many thick books. I have like one thick book a month. But the reason I have so many thick books this month is because I'm going to be going on vacation for a week, and during that week I'm not going to be doing anything but reading. So I imagine I'll be able to knock out those books pretty fast. So yeah. Thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe and like this video, and come back next week for another video.